What if the most sacred halls on earth also echo with the whispers of forgotten gods? Beneath the gilded ceilings of St. Peter's Basilica, behind the solemn chants of Latin Mass, hidden within the veils of incense and candlelight, there lies another Vatican. Not the one of public ceremony and papal decrees, but a Vatican shrouded in secrecy, mystery, and perhaps something far more ancient. Many have wondered, are the rituals of the Vatican purely divine, or do they carry echoes of something more arcane? Why do some rituals feel older than Christianity itself? Why do certain symbols etched into marble, embroidered into vestments, or illuminated in ancient manuscripts seem eerily familiar to those versed in esoteric traditions? Symbols that date back not just centuries, but millennia. In this journey, we are not here to defame, but to decode. Not to sensationalize, but to seek. For wisdom, whether cloaked in gold or shadow, beckons those with eyes to see. Tonight, we will descend into the heart of Rome, not the city above, but the city below. Into crypts and archives, into whispered traditions passed between cardinals and mystics, into the layered meanings of rituals performed daily, yet rarely understood. We will trace the roots of Vatican ceremony through time, to the Mithraic mysteries, the Hermetic traditions, the Eleusinian rites, and the arcane science of sacred geometry. We'll explore the alchemical transformations encoded within Eucharist, the resonant frequencies hidden in Gregorian chant, and the metaphysical architecture of the very foundations of the Vatican. Is this occult influence deliberate, or the unconscious inheritance of an older priesthood? Are these rituals gateways to divine communion, or remnants of a deeper universal system of spiritual transformation? In the end, it may not be a question of occult or divine. It may be both. For what is the occult but that which is hidden? And what is the divine, if not the ultimate mystery? Welcome, seeker. You've just stepped through a veil few dare to lift. Stay close. What you are about to hear may change the way you see the Vatican forever.
To understand the hidden rituals of the Vatican, we must first understand what the Vatican truly is, not merely as a city-state or the seat of the Pope, but as a vessel of power. Not just political power, but archetypal, spiritual, even alchemical power. Long before the first Christian stone was laid on Vatican Hill, this land was considered sacred. In ancient Rome, the hill was known as the Vatican'S Mons, a place associated with prophecy. The very name Vatican derives from vaticenia, prophetic utterances. It was here that augurs, the priestly class of ancient Rome, interpreted the will of the gods through omens. These were not idle superstitions, but encoded interactions with the metaphysical world, rites and observances rooted in cosmic patterns, lunar rhythms, and celestial alignments. Later, this same sacred geography became the site of the Temple of Cybele and the Mithraeum, the underground temples of the cult of Mithras. These mystery religions, especially the Mithraic, are uncannily similar to early Christianity. Communal meals, death and rebirth initiations, and a hierarchy of spiritual ascension. Some scholars believe that early Christian rites were not merely inspired by these ancient cults, they were inherited from them, reclothed in Christian language but preserving older esoteric frameworks. Fast forward to the 4th century, and we see the merging of Roman imperial power with Christian theology. But something curious happens here. Instead of dismantling the rituals of the past, the Church absorbed them. The robes, the incense, the Latin invocations, even the very architecture of the basilicas all bear the fingerprints of Roman religious tradition, which itself was a mosaic of Egyptian, Babylonian, and Greek influences. Consider this. The papal staff, crowned with a crucifix, resembles the ancient Egyptian Waz scepter, a symbol of dominion over spiritual and material realms. The mitre, the tall ceremonial hat worn by bishops, mirrors the fish-headed headdress of the Babylonian god Dagon, later associated with the high priest of Israel. Even the Vatican obelisk, which stands prominently in St. Peter's Square, was brought from Heliopolis, the Egyptian city of the sun. It was once a solar symbol, now aligned with the axis of Christian ritual. But what does all this mean? It suggests that Vatican ritual is not simply a reenactment of biblical events. It is a continuum, a living lineage of symbolic language that predates Christianity. This is where the line between the occult and the divine blurs. For in esoteric traditions, the divine is never separate from the symbolic. Rituals, when properly understood, are technologies of consciousness, means to align the human soul with cosmic law. This is not to say the Church knowingly practices occultism in the sensational sense, but rather that it has preserved, perhaps unconsciously, an ancient system of spiritual transformation, encoded in rites, chants, symbols, and sacred architecture. Indeed, many of the Vatican's most sacred rituals, such as the elevation of the host during Mass or the whispered prayers of the consecration, mirror alchemical processes, the transmutation of base matter into spiritual gold, the dying of the ego, the resurrection of the higher self. These are not merely theatrical performances, they are echoes of initiatory rites, once practiced in hidden groves, desert temples, and subterranean chambers. The Church, in becoming a global spiritual empire, may have buried the roots of these rituals beneath dogma and doctrine, but the roots remain, and those with eyes to see and ears to hear may still trace the sacred geometry of the ancient path hidden in plain sight.
To truly understand the depth of the Vatican's rituals, we must first comprehend the hidden language they speak, the symbolic, alchemical, and archetypal framework that underlies the surface of liturgical form. These rituals, when viewed through an esoteric lens, are not merely ceremonies. They are encoded transmissions, operating on multiple levels: psychological, spiritual, and energetic. Let us begin with one of the most central rituals in Catholicism, the Eucharist, the transformation of bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ. On the surface, this appears as a reenactment of the Last Supper, a remembrance of sacrifice. But beneath this veil lies an ancient formula of alchemical transmutation. In Hermetic and alchemical traditions, transformation is not metaphorical, it is experiential. The Eucharist is not just a symbol of divine presence, it is an invocation of the divine within matter. Just as the alchemist seeks to turn lead into gold, the priest, standing at the altar, invokes spirit into substance. The altar becomes the alembic, the secret container of transformation. The chalice holding the wine mirrors the Holy Grail, not just a mythical object, but a symbol of the receptive soul, capable of receiving divine light. And what of the language spoken during these rites? Latin, long considered a dead language, is in fact chosen for its vibrational quality. Words like Corpus Christi and Verbum Dei are not simply phrases, they are vibrational keys activating archetypal forces within the subconscious. Esoteric traditions have long known that sound and vibration are bridges between realms. Tibetan monks chant mantras for this very reason. Gregorian chants resonating through the vaulted cathedrals are not just music, they are sonic architecture, shaping the inner world of the listener into harmonic alignment with divine order. Consider now the vestments worn by priests during Mass, layers of symbolic garments, each with hidden meaning. The alb, a white linen robe, represents purification. The cincture, a rope belt, signifies mastery over the lower desires. The chasuble, the ornate outer garment, symbolizes the yoke of divine service. Each piece is donned in a precise ritual, echoing the initiation rites of ancient mystery schools, where the initiate was stripped of mundane identity and clothed in the symbols of the new self. Even the architecture of the Vatican itself serves a ritual function. The layout of St. Peter's Basilica mirrors the shape of a cross, yes, but it also echoes the structure of the human body, particularly the chakra system.
The dome rising high above corresponds to the crown chakra, the gateway to the divine. Below, the crypts and tombs may be seen as the underworld, the unconscious realm where the dead rest and where the soul must journey through darkness to be reborn. And at the heart of this sacred geometry stands the Vatican obelisk, an ancient Egyptian monolith transported from Heliopolis. Its placement is not accidental. It aligns with the axis mundi, the world axis, the point where heaven and earth converge. Just as shamans ascend the world tree in their inner visions, so too does this stone serve as a vertical conduit, drawing celestial energies downward into the sacred space of the Mass. These elements are not merely symbolic, they are functional. They serve to alter consciousness, to open portals within the psyche, and to facilitate communion with the numinous. To the esoteric initiate, the Vatican is not simply the seat of Christendom, it is a living mandala, a ceremonial engine designed to transmute the human spirit into a reflection of the divine. But here lies the paradox. While these symbols and rituals are rich with ancient wisdom, most who witness them remain unaware of their deeper function. The Mass to the untrained eye appears routine, predictable. But to the initiate, every movement of the hand, every bell rung, every word spoken in Latin is a step in a precise spiritual algorithm, a rite of ascent through the veils of matter. In this sense, we are faced with a profound mystery. Are these rituals still alive? Do they still transform the soul? Or have they become empty shells, containers without content? That question leads us deeper into the realm of forgotten rites, the secret archives, and the subtle forces woven into the very stones of the Vatican itself.
To venture deeper into the Vatican's labyrinth of ritual is to enter a realm where the esoteric becomes entangled with the ecclesiastical, and where ancient wisdom is both preserved and veiled by layers of doctrine. What appears sacred and benign to the outer world may, to the trained seeker, conceal a deeper initiatory current, one that may originate not in Rome, but in Babylon, Egypt, or even Atlantis. Let us turn our gaze to one of the most secretive aspects of Vatican ritual, the Liturgy of the Hours. This cycle of prayer, divided across 8 specific times each day, mirrors the sacred mathematics of cosmic rhythm. In esoteric numerology, 8 is the number of regeneration, an octave of the soul. These hours, when aligned with solar and planetary cycles, serve as a spiritual clock, tuning the consciousness of the clergy to the celestial spheres. Few realize that this daily devotion is a direct echo of Hermetic planetary invocation, where time itself becomes a sacred medium. And then there is the Holy See, not just the governing body of the Church, but a term with profound occult resonance. The word see comes from cetus, meaning seat. But within esoteric traditions, a seat is always more than a chair. It is a throne of power, an anchor point between worlds. The papal throne, then, can be seen not merely as an office, but as a magical node, a place where spiritual authority is transmitted through an unbroken line of succession. This concept of apostolic succession has its mirror in the initiatory lineages of the Eastern mysteries, where wisdom is passed through ritual transmission from adept to student. The question arises, is the Pope merely a religious figure or a hierophant, a high priest guarding an ancient current of mystery? Historically, the Pope was called Pontifex Maximus, a title inherited from the pagan emperors of Rome. The Pontifex was literally the bridge builder, a mediator between the human and the divine. In spiritual alchemy, this is the role of the magus, the master who links the above and the below. That this title survives in the Vatican today is no accident. It is a cipher, a symbol for those with the keys to decode it. The Vatican's rituals also engage with the astral realm in subtle but powerful ways. Consider the ancient practice of orienting cathedrals toward the east, the rising sun, the symbolic resurrection of light. This is not architectural convenience, but solar magic.
The alignment of churches, feasts, and liturgical calendars with solstices and equinoxes reveals an embedded system of astral theology, wherein the life of Christ is mapped onto the sun's journey through the zodiac. Christmas, celebrated at the winter solstice. Easter near the spring equinox. These are not arbitrary dates, but esoteric coordinates in the spiritual year. Even the selection of a new pope is steeped in arcane symbolism. The conclave, meaning with key, is held behind locked doors. Cardinals dressed in red, a color of blood, sacrifice, and fire, cast ballots in secrecy. And when the decision is made, smoke rises from the Sistine Chapel. This plume of white or black smoke is not just a signal, it is a ritualized element, akin to incense in ancient oracles, declaring the will of spirit through the veil of the material. Nowhere is the hidden nature of Vatican ritual more visible than in its sacred spaces. The Scala Sancta, or holy stairs, which pilgrims ascend on their knees. The Vatican necropolis, where pre-Christian tombs lie beneath St. Peter's. The Apostolic Archive, a vast and silent temple of forgotten knowledge, containing manuscripts so secret even most clergy will never see them. What knowledge lies there? What rituals remain undocumented, unseen by the public eye, passed only in whispered conversations among the initiated? And then there are the symbols, everywhere. The pine cone statue, symbol of the pineal gland and the inner eye. The triple tiara of the Pope, representing dominion over the heavens, the earth, and the underworld, mirroring the trinity of body, soul, and spirit. The keys of St. Peter, said to unlock the gates of heaven, but also representing the initiatic keys to inner transformation. All of this points to a truth that is both staggering and liberating. The Vatican is not just the center of a religion. It is the outer shell of a mystery school, preserving fragments of ancient gnosis behind a veil of orthodoxy. But let us be clear, this is not a conspiracy. It is a pattern, a cosmic law. For as above, so below. What is divine must always descend into form, and form must conceal the divine until the seeker is ready to see. So, is the Vatican's ritual divine? Undoubtedly. Is it occult? Absolutely. But only in the truest sense of the word, hidden.
The mysteries we've explored may feel distant, buried beneath layers of ritual, time, and ecclesiastical hierarchy. But esoteric wisdom is never locked away from those with sincere intent. The outer forms may belong to the Vatican, but the inner current flows through anyone who seeks communion with the divine. These hidden rituals are not merely meant to be observed, they are meant to be embodied. So how can you, a modern seeker far from Rome, engage with this ancient current? How can the hidden rituals of the Vatican become a living practice? Let us begin with the foundation, ritual consciousness. One of the Vatican's secrets lies in its mastery of rhythm, symbolism, and sacred repetition. You don't need vestments or Latin prayers to access this. Start by creating your own sacred space, a corner of your home that you treat as a temple. Cleanse it regularly. Light candles, burn incense. Dedicate it as a place where you engage not with doctrine, but with presence. Next, adopt the practice of spiritual timing. The liturgy of the hours is based on ancient solar cycles designed to align human consciousness with cosmic flow. You might begin with morning and evening rituals, a moment of silence at dawn to invoke light into your life, and a contemplative reflection at dusk to release what no longer serves. Even a single bell tone or breathwork session at the same hour each day begins to entrain your mind to sacred rhythm. One of the most potent rituals, often overlooked, is the practice of sacred language. While you may not recite Latin hymns, you can create your own affirmations or mantras. Speak them aloud with intention, in a slow and resonant voice. The key is vibration. Choose phrases that evoke light, love, presence, or transformation. Whisper them with reverence. You are awakening your own inner cathedral. Explore also the symbolism of vestments, not as costumes, but as a metaphor. Dress for your rituals in a way that sets the sacred apart from the mundane. It could be a shawl, a ring, or even a scent you wear only during prayer. These triggers condition the body-mind to enter sacred space more deeply and easily. Engage with sacred geometry and alignment. Study how ancient temples, including the Vatican, align with celestial movements. Begin placing intention into your home's orientation. Align your altar toward the east if you wish to invoke renewal. Use candles in a triangular formation to reflect the trinity of body, soul, and spirit. The outer form creates an inner shift. And if you are moved by Christian symbolism, consider reapproaching the Eucharist, not as dogma, but as personal alchemy. Try a silent ritual with bread and wine, or symbolic substitutes, as representations of earthly matter infused with spiritual essence. Speak a blessing. Visualize the light of consciousness entering the body. The ritual is not about theology, it is about transformation. Of course, the greatest ritual is not performed in churches or temples, but in the temple of awareness itself. Each time you bring presence into the moment, you perform a sacred act. When you light a candle with intention, bow your head to the mystery, or speak a word with care, you echo the hidden priesthood. The outer Vatican may be veiled, but the inner Vatican, the spiritual seat of wisdom within you, is always accessible. Challenges will arise: skepticism, inconsistency, doubt. These are the thresholds every initiate must pass. Remember, ritual is not magic because it is perfect. It is magic because it is persistent. Begin small, one practice, one sacred moment each day. Over time, the unseen world begins to respond. The hidden rituals of the Vatican are not just secrets of a church. They are keys to aligning your life with cosmic order, to sanctifying the ordinary, and to remembering that the divine is not far, but within. You are not merely a viewer of mystery. You are the mystery, awakening to itself.
The Vatican stands as one of the most awe-inspiring symbols of spiritual power in the modern world. To millions, it is the seat of divine authority. To a few, it is a repository of secret knowledge, and to those who dare to look deeper, it is both. We have walked its shadowed halls, decoded its ancient symbols, and traced its lineage beyond the cross, beyond Rome, to the ancient temples of Egypt and the mystery schools of old. We've seen how rituals that appear purely religious on the surface are often veiled echoes of inner alchemy, sacred geometry, and cosmic alignment. And in doing so, we arrive at a simple yet transformative truth. The division between the occult and the divine is artificial. The divine often chooses to hide itself, not to obscure, but to initiate. The hidden is not evil, it is invitation, a summons to awaken, to participate, to remember. Whether you are a mystic, a seeker, a skeptic, or a practitioner, this journey is not just about the Vatican, it is about the ritual of your own life. Every breath can be a sacrament, every word a spell, every act of awareness a communion. So, ask yourself, what rituals are hidden within you? What sacred architecture lies dormant in your own being, waiting to be reawakened? The keys of St. Peter may open gates in heaven, but the keys to your own transformation have always been in your hands. The sacred is not confined to marble walls or crimson robes. It lives in silence, in rhythm, in the mystery that speaks when words fall away. Thank you for walking this path with us. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who walks between worlds. Subscribe so you never miss the next unveiling. And until then, stay curious, stay reverent, and remember, what is hidden is never lost to the one who seeks with heart aflame.